Professional game, you get out with what you put into. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomás O'Shea. He deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the work out today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello and welcome along to episode 266 of Treaty Talk. Tom Clancy and Matt O'Callaghan of the Weekly Observer and Baystar newspapers here to chat everything GA. And we're delighted to say that we're joined by our first guest of 2024, and that is former Dublin and Limerick hurler Maurice O'Brien. Good evening to Maurice. How's things going?
Hey Matt, all good now, yeah. Yourselves? Keeping good
How
now.
are you, Maurice?
Looking forward to the season starting in earnest now, the weekend.
Yeah, as a former intercounty hurler, it's the time of year where I suppose if you're using cliches, it's when fellas are trudging through mud and putting the hard yards. Did you enjoy this time of year pre-season, or how did you look at it?
No, I wasn't a big fan of the pre-season now. I used to like when the league started, things might ease up a little bit, but a couple of months before it, no, it wasn't great. I remember a couple of years doing the running track out in Noel. Oh, God, it was the most torturous couple of years ever put down. I hated it with a passion.
Yeah. It would put manners on you, I'm sure.
Sure of it.
You obviously mentioned there the league season around the corner.
But before you go into the league there, just briefly, Maurice, to take you up there on the pre-season, what are your views on the pre-season competitions? Mindful of the fact now that the GPA voted overwhelmingly late last year to get rid of him, but it was probably too late to get rid of him for this year. But like the debacle that we had in Munster this year, now I know we've no control of the elements whereby the competition had to be abandoned.
It's rushed in, Matt. It goes in there, and I don't think there's any need for it. I think the way the calendar has gone, the league is starting earlier and the championship much earlier. There isn't any time for it anymore. And my main fear is you have a Fitzgibbon Cup being half out of the calendar and more into the background than it ever was before. And a cracking competition that needs to be protected. And I think it's a way more prestigious competition than these pre-season games, right? The way that it has been abandoned this year kind of shows in itself the importance of them. They're brilliant for giving game time to guys on the fridges and getting a chance. But I also think there's opportunity for that, similar to the Dylan Quirk game the weekend, which is a more worthy cause than them, to get a couple of games like that fit in if and when needed, not on Wednesday night here and there in the cold, and you can see what they're trying to do. I'd be way more in favour of the Fitzgibbon Cup being protected properly than playing these games.
Colin wrote at the end of last year, he had a tirade on the Sunday, on League Sunday one day, given out about he was interested in the Sigerson Cup, but I suppose he meant, the pre-season competition, and he was saying why not reschedule the pre-season competitions? He was saying why not reschedule the third level colleges competitions?
To have them before Christmas?
Yeah, well, yeah. I have scratched my head and discussed that with people ad nauseum since, and I cannot see any place where you can fit it in, because with the split season now, pre-Christmas is pretty well tied up with the clubs.
It's tied up with the clubs because, I remember in our day we had a situation where Portumna were obviously going well, and Joe Canning was with us, and he always turned up and played for us, but there was a case where he's an important All-Ireland semi-final always kind of happened slap bang in the middle of Fitzgibbon Cup season. So, and he always played for us, to be fair. Tomlin gave him that opportunity as well. But there's plenty of other players that don't get that opportunity, So Yeah, you will have a couple of players that will follow that before Christmas. But yeah, I don't know, Rick, how it works maybe before Christmas. I just think they're a cracking competition. The history behind it, like what history is there for a Munster League? It's like there's nothing. Sure, it was gone for a few years and it was back. And yeah, I'd say the history behind those third level competitions needs to be protected at all costs in my eyes. Players love them, absolutely love them. It doesn't probably get the engagement from the supporters because unless you're a past pupil of one of the colleges and you follow it that way, you're probably really not invested in it. But look, you look at the UL team sheet there, for example, and UCC, you see the names dotted through it. Like that's your breeding ground for are you going to make it as inter-county hurler?
Oh, you're absolutely, totally correct in that, Maurice. And they are competitions that have to be protected no matter what. And I suppose the timing of them and the scheduling them here at the start of the year is probably the best and only option that's available.
Yes.
Like instead of having these pre-seasons, at least that they should get half of January at least as a free run to get the early rounds of the competitions over.
I do too. And I suppose one thing that we have in our favour, John Kiley respects the competitions immensely, Matt and Tom. He gives the players the opportunity to go and play them. He doesn't put pressure on them that they need to be playing the Munster League games. He's, I suppose, ever since day one. And look, John being for UCC, I think, Matt, was it?
That's right, yeah.
Fitzgibbon with, so look, John's well versed in the competition as well, but he gives our lads every opportunity to enjoy it, to maximise the tournament. So, which is brilliant from our point of view.
Yeah, he doesn't hide behind it in promoting the importance of the competitions, which, as you say, is fantastic, Maurice.
No, brilliant, and probably needs to be done, you were saying, Colin O'Rourke done, it needs to be done widespread by inter-county managers that they need to look after the game more so than just their own patch, definitely.
Yeah, I think just to pick up on that, and I think John Kiley's view on it is quite simple. Now, obviously, he views it as a good competition, but even from his own point of view, if Limerick play, obviously, a Munster League game on a Sunday, he's going to use, say, 20 players, but then there could be another 5 will play a very high quality game, competitive game, probably even more competitive during the week. Yeah. So now he's getting 25, 30, even more, depending on the numbers. It's a very simple view for me that he says, right, Colin Coughlin and Adam English, etc., with UL, going to get a good tempo game, good quality game, rather than sitting on the bench or maybe not being involved in a Munster League game. It's a very simple analogy. He says 30 guys will get close to the league speed, and obviously championship beyond it. So it's a very simple view, I think. And I actually saw today Henry Shefflin bemoaning the competition. He lost won a couple of his players for the Walsh Cup final the weekend, and he's someone that I thought would have seen the wood from the trees, as it were, with this competition. But not everyone's on John Kiley's wavelength in terms of that, I don't think.
I see the young lad from Porthumlin is sticking a goal from Mary Eye there, very impressive in the highlights the other day. So look, it throws up guys like that, that gives them that bit of experience, and that gives him an opportunity to now break into that Galway squad in the next couple of weeks.
Wasn't he the young lad that came on and got a late point in the Leinster Championship last year?
Was that him? He was excellent in the highlights.
We're talking about this guy, Dean McLaughlin, is it?
That's with McLaughlin, Declan McLaughlin with Mary Eye scored the goal for against UCC. Yeah. So last Wednesday. So yeah, he's someone that obviously is in Joe Canning's mind. So I'm surely Joe wants to see him excelling at third level, and I don't think he was the player in question, but there's other players that he was short of. But look, that's one manager. I think we're all in the Kiley wavelength. There's these competitions are great, and I go to a lot of these games. I was at one of them on Monday evening, and I tell you, I really enjoyed them. They're good fare, they're good tempo. There's no real messing between the teams. There's you get what you see, and the games are free as well, generally speaking. So I can't see maybe why maybe the weather is the main downfall for people not to go to them. But you could see the next gem. We're seeing Shane O'Brien in it this year. Obviously, we know well about him, but down the years with the seeing guys. I know when I was in UL myself, Grode Hegarty started putting his hand up, obviously playing Fitzgibbon and Sigerson, but that was before he was on the Limerick Hurling panel. So it's a real breeding ground for these guys,
Oh, definitely, and it's great to see Alan O'Connor getting his start on that UL team now this year. Isn't that brilliant to see? And that's obviously showing real promise from him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just turning back to the intercounty thing, scene. Obviously, the Limerick game, we mentioned it there. Limerick well beaten, Matt. But I suppose the scoreline is irrelevant. Limerick used 26 players and Tipperary used 29. Upwards of 3,000 people in attendance, all for a good cause and all that. Good run out for the I suppose the trialing players now. Maybe that phrase is one that I've created there, but guys that are looking to get onto the panel. So good to get them out in a serious game that was respected by both teams.
Yeah, well, between the two games that Limerick have played, they have, I suppose, given stats to. Well, it's gone into double figures. There were 3 last Sunday. You had Ronan Lyons, and you had Ronan Lyons started, and you had Evan O'Leary and Donald Coughlin coming on late in the game. But we had a whole raft of them before that, and we had Emmett McAvoy, Ethan Turley, Joe Fitzgerald, David Fitzgerald, Liam Lynch, Darrell Langan, Mike Keane. Like there was a whole missing 1 or 2 more of them even. That got game time, you know.
Our man from Ballingarry, Matt.
And that is good. Now, whether any of them will break into a match day squad, whether any of them will make the cut for the final panel when it comes, that remains to be seen. Luke Flynn was another one that got good game time, got a good goal against Clare. So, it's good that these lads get a sense of what intercounty what level they have to come up to play at intercounty level, albeit it's only pre-season maybe of the league. But if you could see of those debutants, if you could see 2 or 3 of those coming into match day squads, I suppose the games have been worthwhile. And the Tipperary game, in many ways, you could have said filled a need, but in that you had lost your second round of the Munster Senior League, and you'd lost the potential Senior League final, and that it would fill a gap. But John Kiley seemed to opt for a completely new look team. I was going through today, and I reckon in the 2 games that Limerick have played so far, that only 1 player that started in the All-Ireland has featured, and that was Dan Morrissey, who captained Limerick in Clare Castle the night.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a raft of that All-Ireland team. You're going to see 7 or 8 of them, I think, named for the weekend, plus fringe players, maybe 1 or 2 that we saw that were tried out would make the match day panel. What is John Kiley going to do with the Fitzgibbon Cup players? And there are quite a lot of them there. That will be interesting. I think you know his commitment on the possibility is that he's going to work around them and let them free to play for their college.
Yeah,
I think you have a couple of games there, Matt, coming up. You first Antrim is Westmeath second, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's where the couple of games that were lost there in the Munster League. I feel he'll go very experimental in those 2 games, with the likes of a Dan Morrissey, who kind of an ever present in early round games as well, and maybe Tom and a few more. I think they'll throw 1 per line in, and I think they'll go experimental from there. I'd like to see them doing that, give guys the opportunity, because you look as you go to the later stages of the league. I think the last 2 games is Galway and who's the second last one?
Yeah, Tipperary.
Yeah, I think you'll be shaping up towards closer to your championship team by the time you get to there. I think they'll be very experimental in the first 2 weeks. I feel that'll be the way. Yeah.
Maurice, it's the model that Limerick have gone. You mentioned 1 player in the line, 1 veteran, if you like, or 1 experience. It's a very good model that they've been pursuing for a while now. That you say Dan Morrissey might be full back, and then you might have, we'll say, Emmett McAvoy alongside him, and maybe Aaron Costello. The guys that maybe haven't been as prominent in the Limerick jersey. Just to use an example. But it's a good model, I think, because obviously a rookie, if you like, maybe like Emmett McAvoy, he has a nice steady hand beside him, and probably maybe in front of him as well at 7 or maybe at 6, and it seems to work. They've picked up results when the teams have been maybe experimental in down the years in the league. But a guy's not, you don't have a full forward line that is completely new. They're not 3 debutants in the forward line. You might have Seamus Flanagan and then two two guys who are pushing for a place in the actual panel, like, you know. So it seems to be a good model that they've stumbled upon.
What he has done a lot previously is kind of he has two regulars on the line and one debutant, okay, which is the ideal scenario. If you're that debutant, you want a couple of steady hands all around you. Like, even take that as a goalkeeper, right? You want a championship full-back line area in front of you to get a fair crack at it, and you want a couple of target men up in your half-forward line that you get a fair crack at the proper run of puck-outs, you know, that you're hitting a Hagerty or a Tom Morrissey, you know, as well for your puck-outs. And like that, your cornerback, into the ideal scenario, did you have Dan Morris alongside you and Dermot Burns in front of you, you know? So that's a real crack of the whip. Whereas, you know, it's hard if you make wholesale changes. I remember trying to break in yourself, and the day you get your chance, there's 10 of you getting your chance, and sure, it's everyone's trying to prove themselves, and the cohesion and the team play goes out of it, you know. You just want to fit in and have them fellas either side of you offering that bit of advice, and something goes wrong, that they're straight away, forget about it, next ball, you know. So, but again, if you're that young player and you have an inexperience beside you and in front of you, a mistake happens, you know, you can confound that with a second mistake on top of it very quickly if you don't have somebody beside you talking you through it.
Yeah. Matt, do you think Limerick want to win this league this year? And obviously we're defending champions, we nearly forget that. But do they want to win it this year?
We've heard time and again when that question has been asked, and we've got a very emphatic answer. None more so than from the Morrissey brothers, who insist that they want to win every game and every competition that they go into. But I'm a small bit worried. I thought the additional games in the league after the group stage last year, I think it brought, it didn't give Limerick the opportunity that it gave to Waterford and Clare to regroup for the championship. And I think the run-in from the league to the championship is far too close. And of course we want to win every competition that we go into, but like, this is a special year for Limerick hurling. There's a huge prize. Like, there's a place in immortality awaiting Limerick if they can do it this year. And I'm not so sure that being involved in a league semi-final and a league final and maybe extra time or whatever it is, I don't think that's the ideal preparation for going into a championship. All right, if you had a break of a month, yes. But as it is now at the moment, what are you looking at? Maybe 2 weeks maximum?
I think the league final is the middle around the 10th or so of April, and then the Limerick are out a fortnight later. I think maybe I'm slightly off the dates there, but first day out in the championship in Ennis, which, you know, as we know, is no easy feat. Clare are obviously a fine side too, so yeah. But you can't send a team out to lose either, Maurice, can you?
It goes against everything that the team have stood for in the last number of years. They will go out to win every game, guys. You know, and John Kyle, that's the message that will be seeping through. You'll hear it, as you said. I remember Tom Morrissey, the same interview last year. Someone asked the question, might have been you even, Matt, but you got the answer back. Whoever it was got the answer back fairly emphatically that we want to win the league. I think the message will be same. Again, but that will be while still trialing players throughout that process. And if that's good enough to win the league, then great. But I think the mentality will be to win it, or not to. They won't be going focus on it. The mentality will be win every game by game. I agree with you that they were a little off at the start of last year's championship, but I feel last year's league, Matt, a lot of teams just conceded. They didn't come and show their hand. If you remember the year before, Galway came and beat us in the Gaelic Crowns in what was a cracking game for a league game, and it didn't do them any good come championship. So I think a lot of teams last year decided to basically surrender and give up their 2 points to Limerick, and let's not show them what we're working on here. It ultimately didn't work for them in championship either. So I don't know what approach teams have playing Limerick in the league. Last year I felt it was very, very poor from the opposition, that they didn't come to have a right go at all. Whereas they obviously came to have a right go in championship. It was tight in Munster, but again, Limerick got through it. But I think, answering the first question, I don't see them putting, if things don't go well this year and we took the foot off the throttle in the league, it goes against everything the team stands for so far.
Yeah, I just
of
looking
course,
at,
there's a small bit of extra bite in the league this year, because heretofore in recent years, if you won one game, you were safe. But now we have a situation where we have a new format coming in 2025, and how in God's name that the GA came up with groups of 7, I will never know. 7, an uneven number. But that is what it is. But basically what is going to happen, and I'm hearing conflicting views as to what's going to happen. But one thing that's definitely going to happen is that the top 3 teams in Group 1 and Group 1A and B are going to be part of Division 1 next year. And my understanding that it was going to be a playoff between the 2 forts. Now I'm hearing that it's the best fort. Maybe, Maurice, you could throw some light on that. But it means that this one win will not do now. So club counties will be they'll be more focused on it for this year anyway.
Well, look, I think the league is like, you don't have the top 7 teams in that one division. They're split between the 2 sides of it, Matt. So you still have ourselves, Galway, Tip in one side, and what else is Westmeath, Antrim, and Dublin. So like, I don't see a scenario where Limerick aren't finishing in the top 3 there. So I don't see it as a pressure. I remember a league of 8 teams, and it was the top 8 teams, and staying in that league was difficult. And then it went to a 6-team league, and staying in that league was difficult. I don't think staying in this, I don't know why they keep changing the format, but I don't think Limerick have any fears of not finishing the top 3, and it's a playoff with the 4 teams. I don't see that being I just don't like the setup of the league at all, Matt. I think it should be the top 6 teams playing against each other, and if you're not good enough to be in that top 6, you go down.
Yeah, I think
of course, Maurice, of course, yeah, absolutely. You see,
is that what it's going to be next year? I think that's a way better format. I don't know why they didn't just jump straight to it.
Well, it's going to 7, as Matt says. So Limerick invariably, I couldn't agree more with you. Limerick are, without a shadow of doubt, will finish ahead of 2, if not 3 of them, even if they put out the most experimental team. You'd imagine they'll have it too much for Antrim, Westmeath, and then they should be able to pick up enough points after the other 3 games to finish in the top 3, and that puts them in the top tier for next year. But don't think that's even a concern. But they'll be just looking to get the guys that are lightly raced a bit more up to speed, I suppose, as it goes on. And maybe the order of the fixtures is ideal in that regard. Without trying to disrespect any counties, but maybe it's it's a slow build up towards the bigger hitters as it goes on. But
what are they trying to find in the league, lads? Where's the most key position they need to find a player or 2?
Well, I saw that suggested Limerick only use 18 different starters in the 4 All-Irelands in a row to date. So
yeah,
I suppose your concern there is maybe another injury or 2, and how deep do you have to go into your panel now? Limerick seem to have worked around injuries in the last few years, no problem. But you never know what if Aaron Gillan went down, or what if Nicky Quaid went down. What's just to use 2, I suppose, at opposite ends of the field. But what's the solution, maybe? And that's probably what the league should be about, maybe.
Yeah, on that, you have to give. I know it's the strategy has to be give 1 league game to your number 2 goalkeeper, which at the moment that's David McCarthy. I feel they should be given 2 or 3 league games there, just in the eventuality that you're up to speed. And again, who falls in for Aaron Gillan? I suppose leading the line mentality, that's a difficult one. That probably falls to Seamus Flanagan in that thing.
Yeah, a bit of a rejig, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, who fits in there? Then you have free taking to think of as well. So they're 2 key ones. But you'd love to see David McCarthy getting a couple of games in the league. I know there are a couple of goalkeepers brought in, Matt. I think there's 4 goalkeepers in there at the moment. Is there Jamie Power, Thomas Lynch, and Nicky? Yeah. So again, the Munster League going the way it went probably limits the opportunities for all of them. It's given a specialist position. But it'd be great to see a couple of goalkeepers getting opportunity during a couple of league games.
Yeah, would Matt, what do you think?
You'd have to agree, Tom, that John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk are the masters of improvise. Because if you were told at the start of the championship last year that you were going to be without Sean Finn from all of it practically and Declan Hannon for a lot of it, you'd have been inclined to throw your hands up in the air and say, bloody hell, this is bad luck. But the job that John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk did in replacing was absolutely simply fantastic. And we had another example about a couple of years earlier, I think the first year of COVID, where we had two of our full back line out in the opening round of the championship against Clare. If my memory serves me correct, it doubled up with the league. And both Mikey Casey and Richie English were out. We saw Dan Morrissey slotted into full back, Barry Nash slotted into cornerback. There's a certain amount of versatility in the players that we have, but I think that John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk and their management team have done a fantastic job in improvising, because in 2022 we were without the master playmaker Keane Lynch. Last year we were without Sean Finn, then Declan Hannon, and we still survived.
I suppose them cornerback injuries are still, I suppose, a current trend as well with Sean Finn and Richie English. So you've your starting full back line of regulars, shall we call them, from last year, Mike Casey, Dan and Barry. I think the depth needs to be found there. I know the two lads are on the road to recovery, but it'll be interesting to see who gets the opportunity in the full back line in the league. I think that'll be a very interesting development. He's tried a couple of guys there in the Munster leagues, Emmett McAvoy, Fergal O'Connor. So I think there's game time there to see who steps up to the plate in those positions as next up.
Yeah, be interesting to see what way the lads come back as well. Sean Finn, I think it was the 30th of April, he did his cruciate, and I think Richie then was probably the early days of July. So maybe Sean is a little bit further along, but then how much game time is he going to be able to get back before the April dates in the championship? Yeah. So you're right there. Yeah, that is definitely a line of the pitch that is obviously of great strength to Limerick, but at the same time is maybe one or two more blows away from being, in real peril, maybe in terms of having to look deeper. Yeah, and there hasn't been. It's a line you don't change, too often in games, but when you have to, you want to make sure your guys are up to it.
Imagine getting a starting jersey there now, and all of a sudden Richie English and Sean Finn both come back and roll into training fully fit.
Tap on the shoulder, yeah.
Very tough going.
Yeah. But that's the joys of it. In fairness to, Matt mentioned 2020 that Richie English lost his place. Obviously, he did his cruciate then in I think a league game just before COVID broke out.
No, I didn't say he lost his place, but I said he was injured.
Sorry, he was injured, but he actually did lose his championship place. I'm not sure. Invariably, Barry Nash came in, did such a stellar job that Richie hasn't seen. Has he seen a minute at championship since? Maybe a few minutes here or there, but hasn't been given a starting jersey in the championship since. And obviously, he's had another injury now, which has scuppered that too. So, I mean, when you break it down, like that's what's making this team great, is that someone else has plugged the hole. Not to say Richie was doing anything wrong, but it's another man has stepped into the breach and hasn't let go of the jersey. That's the old cliche that we want. Everyone wants a club team, but Limerick have it at the top level.
The year before, if you were to say, look, Barry Nash was struggling to get game time to forwards and completely rejuvenated himself, opportunity knocked, and he has a hold of that jersey now. So it probably shows that if you do grab a hold of it and you're performing, you'll keep it. So he's probably one of the mainstays of the team now.
Definitely, yeah. You'd be shocked if he was, listed 17, 18 or 19 or whatever it would be for a championship game. We'd be calling for Kylie's head, would we? But,
I'd let you do that.
But that just shows you how the team has evolved. I know I mentioned at the start a lot of the same players, but there has been an evolution. I think Barry Nash played wing back in the last Kilkenny in 19, and obviously would have come on in the forwards maybe in the semi-final in 18 as well. So, and you mentioned probably was a little bit down the pecking order in terms of first or second sub on, but grabbed the jersey and now firmly in that number 4 jersey. And
but the age profile, Tom, of that, so I suppose you'll say there's probably not a huge turnover of players, right? But like the age profile where they started very, very young, and what's Keane Lynch now? 27, 28?
20, just gone 28, yeah. You'd have
Hegarty, right? So that's your age group of you know, that minor team, Keane's minor team, with Tom Morrissey, Barry Nash, Aaron Gillan. Well, who else is bang on that age?
Mike Casey, just around that age as well. Richie,
so like,
I think,
they're all at their prime now. You know, they're 28. You know, a couple of really unbelievable years in your mid-20s. Like 28 is a prime age. Like, so to say there hasn't been much turnover, you wouldn't expect much turnover from lads. They're not exactly rolling out the other side and far from it.
Yeah, definitely not. No, and like I think Dermot Burns and Grode Hegarty would be hitting the 30 this year, and obviously then north of 30 you're only looking at Declan Hannon, who's just I think 31 if I'm not mistaken. Nicky's a little bit beyond that, and I think Graham then is maybe 32 or 3. So like you're right, the core of the panel is in their 20s. You know, at the time of speaking, like so. Yeah, they're still at it. But I mean, I suppose no one has fizzled out of this panel. No one has really lost form of the 15 to 20 guys we're so used to seeing. No one has really, you know, lost their jersey. They've invariably held on to some role in the panels, which just shows the consistency needed and that they've had, you know.
Yeah, but you know they're in such good shape, and you know, the attitude. And it's very, very hard to maintain it. And you must remember now this year they're going for 7 years, and they're 8 years, going right back to 2017. But like, we have to give full credit to John Kiley and his management, you know, for the way that they're keeping him fresh, the way that they're keeping him motivated, and the way that they have him prepared, you know, that the versatility that they have, so many of them have, that can come in and fill gaps. You know, it's just simply phenomenal. Like William O'Donoghue going back to centre back, you know, it proved to be a masterstroke, even though he picked up an injury in the first few minutes of the All Ireland and played through it, which was incredible. You know, but you know, the way, as I said, like when Sean Finn went out and Declan Hannon went out, you'd say to yourself, it's gone, you know. But by God, I'll tell you, the way that they improvised and the way that it just showed me how ready those in reserve are. And if those in reserve are that ready, they are bound to be putting pressure on those inside.
Yeah.
And that's why we may not have that much turnover, because the pressure is on. You know, the pressure is on from day one once they come back, and you know. There are so many people that, and you know, we get a demonstration of that in, we'll say, the early season, and we got it in the league last year when you know, there was fellas chomping at the bit, like to get a place and fail to get it. And I suppose the only one that has really made a breakthrough into that inner sanctuary of the squad or of the team in the last couple of years is
O'Neill.
Or Cathal O'Neill.
Yeah.
You know, but that is not to say that the others aren't ready, but they're putting the pressure on those that are inside. And I think that's the secret. I because when you see fellas, and John Kiley has mentioned it so often, when you see the fellas that come off the bench and the contribution that they can make off the bench, like that will give you an idea in itself, like that those that they'll replace on a particular day, like they're under pressure when you see these guys coming on and performing like they did. David Reedy was another one that probably broke into the inner sanctuary as well. You know, but
wasn't it great to see?
It's very, very hard to get into it, and you have to be really, really on top.
Wasn't it great to see David Reedy grabbing a hold of that and blowing away this super sub mate that we had about him there for a number of years, that he grabbed a hold of that starting jersey last year and was brilliant all year. Like David's been exceptional in club hurling the last number of years, and the form for Limerick has been brilliant all the time. And it was brilliant to see him getting the starting jersey last year and keeping it all year. I thought he was brilliant, and that probably shows, you know, Cathal O'Neill chomping at the bit, getting ready to break in there. And you've Adam English coming, right, flying it in Fitzgibbon Cup there as well. How do you keep him out? Who do you put out? You know, it just drives that real, I suppose, hunger among the whole panel when you see that kind of quality of player that can't break through. Shane O'Brien, we're going to see more of him this year. We probably feel we are more than we saw last year. Aidan O'Connor, just real quality coming, putting pressure on. Colin Coughlin, Jesus, he was exceptional there for UL as I'm knocking over pints in the Fitz the other day. Like, where's Colin Coughlin going to get his opportunity? Is it going to be half back, midfield, half forward?
Midfield, if we're to go by the 2 games so far, small sample size, but maybe that's the more likely option for him. Not to say that he'd be nailed down to one position forever, but maybe it is a case that he is the next option there alongside Dara O'Donovan and William O'Donoghue. And if they need to pivot things with injuries elsewhere, that maybe if William has to drop back again like he did last season, that maybe that's Colin's opening, or maybe he will be the guy that comes on in midfield for the last 15 minutes, and that's a role that maybe he could firm up.
Important year for him now. He's been knocking there now for a couple of years, but I think this is a huge year, and just the shape he's in is phenomenal. Really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's only
he actually started out with Limerick as a corner forward.
Yeah.
Did he?
Under 16 playing under 17 minor, I suppose. Yeah.
He played with Limerick minor as a corner forward.
As I didn't know that though.
Yeah. He's evolved, but
he'll be the next big experiment now wherever he's needed.
Could be a sub goalie yet, we wouldn't know.
Could be.
Yeah, we wouldn't put it past him. They're so talented.
But again, he's got the responsibility now as well this year, which will be very, very good for him. I think he's joint captain of UL or vice captain of UL with Matt Rogers.
Yeah.
So all these little things will help him, give him that bit of responsibility. So yeah, I think Colin Coughlin has a very, very big future, and in any other era in Limerick, and God knows I remember a lot of eras at this stage, Colin Coughlin would be a shoo-in. But, talking about Colin Coughlin, like, it gives you an idea of how strong the men in possession are of the jersey.
Big time.
And the stat I would use to emphasise that is Colin came on against Cork in the last round robin of the Munster Championship, and that was his actually Munster Championship debut. Came on for maybe 15 minutes or whatever it was. That'll tell you he's been on the bench. He hasn't been injured. He's been, in the 26 for the last few years. And that was the first time he got on for a Munster game. Now, anyway, he played in an All-Ireland final and a semi-final off the bench. But that'll tell you how difficult it is to,
It's the thing, if you're a forward, you'll get rolled off the bench and get more opportunities off the bench. If you're a defender, like, opportunities off the bench are limited to injuries. Yes. Or somebody getting a roasting, which doesn't happen. So you're limited getting off the bench as a wing back, cornerback, or wherever. Yeah,
that'll tell you how consistent Kyle Hayes and Dermot Burns had been as well in those flank positions, which is where maybe Colin was lined up for. We might move it on, lads. We've mentioned
just a player that we didn't mention, and he had an unfortunate year. We didn't mention Jimmy Quilty at all as a player that might be coming through as well. But unfortunately, he has missed the year now with his cruciate.
Yeah. Is he nearly on the way back, Matt? Well, actually, I know he was a 2-time captain of a under-20s team, which tells its own story, So be great to have him back in the mix. It's pity when a player goes down, when they're getting their opportunity, their first year in there, to go down.
I've seen him at the Fitzgibbon game, but
he's just most lucky, and as you say, 2 times captain, and the way they lost the All-Ireland final, with the controversial point and the fact that Cathal O'Neill was the water boy because of that asinine rule that prevented him from playing. But but Jimmy Quilty certainly has loads and loads of potential.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, we're just moving it along, lads, we might go to 3rd level next, since we mentioned plenty of it there. I'm just saying Jimmy Quilty would be eligible for Mary I, or he's eligible for Mary I, but unfortunately fitness not just there yet. But Mary I picked up their second win of the competition, 8-point winners over UCC last Wednesday, and on Monday just gone, they were 223 to 119 winners over Maynooth in Portlaoise. Matt, again, we're seeing Mary I, they don't have the greatest pick in the world. They have a very small male population, but I tell you, they seem to attract some fantastic hurlers from around the place. A few from Limerick, of course, including the aforementioned Shane O'Brien. But Mary I march on into a home quarter final.
Oh yeah, Harty's congratulations to them. Like they've had 2 good wins over UCC and over Maynooth College and or Maynooth University, should I say? And I suppose at the outset of that particular group, you know, you would have been inclined to say like it would be UCC and one of the others, but that's not the way it has panned out. And they had a very, very good win over UCC, and they had an equally good win over Maynooth. Now, I understand that you saw both of them, Tom, and the permutation now is that they have left UCC and Maynooth fighting it out on Thursday night for the place, and it's a game that UCC have to win because they have a 1 point inferior scoring difference to Maynooth College. So, like, and you know, whoever wins it is facing the you could nearly say a booby prize, in that they have to travel to Limerick to play UL.
Yeah.
You know, because
prize,
we've spoken about briefly there about UL there in the context of Colin Coughlin, Adam English, and them, and they're a team of all the talents. They're a stellar outfit. Now you look at the UCC panel and you say to yourself, "Gosh, what? About 12 fellas that have played senior for Cork? So they must, you know, they must be favourites to win it." Like, but it doesn't work like that, and it probably gives you a sense that, you know, why Cork at senior level are not, you know, and that's not to say that they won't be a big threat this year. But like, if there's a lot of guys there now that are playing with UCC and they've got game time with Cork now. Cork have played 3 games already this year. Now, despite the fact that their game with Limerick aborted, in that they had first of all they had the Teddy McCarthy Memorial game before Christmas, then they had Canon Michael O'Brien tournament final, which they were beaten by UCC, even though they had some of the UCC players playing with them. And then the game with Limerick aborted, and they beat Clare. And but a lot of those guys got runs, and some of them, you know, have been members of the Cork senior team, the senior panel for the last 2 or 3 years. And you just wonder, but that is, as it is anyway. But we have 2 Limerick teams already through, and I'd be pretty confident that we'll have a third. Like Mary I are through, UL are through, both with home quarterfinals. Now, TUS Midwest, in my view, they're likely to get through because they have a game with ACU Galway. Yeah. Now, and I would be fancying them, especially on their home patch. I would expect them to win. Now, the other Munster side, MTU Cork, I would also expect them to get through, for the simple reason that they're playing DCU, and both DCU have SETU Waterford. These new names that we have to spell out tongue twisters. Yeah. SETU, Southeast Technical University Waterford, right? Who have Robbie Hanley, by the way, and Barry Hennessy on board.
They do.
They're through, and I would be expecting that MTU will get through with them. They have the MTU now, including their team, Kieran Joyce, who would be probably the best known name. So we could possibly 5 of the last 8 could be Munster colleges. Yeah. It would be great.
Yeah.
Look, it'd be great, Matt. From our own side, it'd be brilliant to have 3 colleges in it, you know, and that's where what we had now started with the lads in Mary I winning, UL winning, TUS not winning but competing, right? So that's where, like, you know, they had Dermot Burns in there with them, you know. So look, that's where it starts. Okay, so it's brilliant to see them all competing and all making it through would be huge, you know. And TUS having a home match against what was GMIT match, I'm not sure what they're called, right? Having a home game is huge, right? So they're hard to beat in their home ground, okay? They'll be hard to beat up in Mileage College. out the back there. So that'll be interesting to see. So it'll be brilliant to have them. Okay, and a sprinkling Limerick players across all is very important as well. You know, so they'll be huge. I thought, Matt, you were on a go there. I thought you were going to go to town on the Cork seniors the way you were talking about UCC there for a minute, but you headed back.
I don't know. The Cork seniors, they're a bit of an enigma at the moment. You know,
you were going to write a headline there.
You would be saying to yourself, like, if you have 5 or 6 regular Cork seniors on your college's panel, like, there was a day if you had 5 or 6 college, college would win the Fitzgibbon Cup like they've done so often in the past, like in the time of Canon Michael O'Brien when they won 7 or 8 in a row, you know. But and they were the days when they had even less Cork senior players than they have now.
They have to beat Maynooth up in Maynooth to qualify to play UL.
It's in the Mardyke.
No, it isn't the Mardyke.
Oh, it's in the Mardyke, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
It's in the Mardyke Thursday night.
Yeah, so that's probably telling as well for Maynooth to come down and be a big ask. But
having just played as well on Monday, so quick turnaround for them. So
I thought I'd tee you up there to have another go at Cork Hurling to see what you
he didn't bite this time. Yeah, but just to mention,
O'Brien,
you will be trying to tee me up as well.
You're worse than Jacket getting under me.
Yeah, just lads to mention the LIT lads or the TUS Midwest, which they are now did some of the Limerick involvement. Sean Moran of Bruff, he went off injured early last week against UL. Derek Casey held the full-back position as well. They, as far as I'm aware, were the only 2 Limerick men in the starting panel. With Paddy Morrissey of Bruff, Ahan, I should say, and Michael Ryan of Maroon Boher involved, I think, from the bench as well. There's a couple of others deeper down the panel, but I suppose it's always attracted, you went there yourself, Maurice, it's always attracted lads from all over the region, really, hasn't it? The Moylish campus, and look, I suppose maybe not their best few years in the Fitzgibbon things, but these things they kind of can go in cycles.
Go in cycles, like sure, you were inundated with players when I was in there, but I suppose everyone was getting into the courses, construction related courses that out there at the time. Sure, I'm a quantity surveyor myself, and half the team was made up of between quantity surveying and construction management and whatnot. So it's just a sign of the times, really, where what are the areas that people are looking for in their profession, you know. So that comes in cycles. You saw all the Mary I, how hot they went when they won two in a row. There, how many was that? 4 or 5 years ago now.
Maybe more now. Yeah, they're doing another final as well. Yeah. But
a lot of them there, and UL, to be fair, are always strong. Very rarely are UL not in the picture in the last 20 years, you know. So, that's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. You know, it's a great breeding ground to get guys game time at that level, you know. And you look UL, UCC, if that does materialise as a quarter final in Limerick, wouldn't that be a cracking occasion, you know?
Yeah. There always I was kind of saying how good a standard of hurling it is, but like you know, for anyone that maybe has never ventured along to these games, how could you portray it now? It's not an inter-county game. I'm not trying to blow that out of it, but you know, I always find that the games to have a great tempo to them. You know, players get on with it. There's very little messing. You know, and because the guys are so young in general, you know, I know some guys can go back to college and whatever, but because they're all between I suppose 19 and 23 or 4 maybe, you know, they're all fit lads now, especially the way things have gone at that age.
That's probably it fits in there, right? So like it's probably under 21s. Well, what it was in my day, we would have been a step above that, but like obviously a couple of steps below your senior in the county. But it's definitely above what would be under 20s now, a year younger, you know. So it's definitely a better area to test yourselves, because you're playing against like under 20s now doesn't have senior and county players playing in it, right? So it is the only opportunity you have there now to test yourself at that level, slightly below senior and county. And if you were excelling at Fitzgibbon Cup, you're going to get a crack with your county team, right? And if you're not, like these matches are being watched, and if you're not excelling there, like and you're probably thinking you're deserving an opportunity, you're not going to get it if you're not excelling, because they're being watched tightly, you know. So but if you're performing at Fitzgibbon Cup, you're going to get your opportunity with your county team, be whatever county team that is. It's being watched. I remember Shane McGrath, Conor O'Mahony couldn't get on the tip panel at the time, and were starting for us, wing back and centre back, in the same line as myself, and the two of them were absolutely outstanding and went on to start for Tip later that year and play for 10 more years for Tip. But they were on the outside looking in of a Tip panel until that Fitzgibbon Cup season. I can't remember, mid-noughties, whatever it was, but they were outside looking in, and the same has happened numerous times over the years.
Yeah, definitely. And what was it like? You mentioned Joe Canning, but he probably attracted the crowds as much as anything. The only thing I'd have loved, right? So I was lucky enough to be there at the time when we had Owen Kelly when I went in first, and Owen left the number 14 jersey, and Joe Canning stepped into it. It was an awful pity they didn't cross over for 1 year. Well, that'd have been magic, wouldn't it?
It would have been great to be full forward in between the two of them.
You wouldn't need to do much with your when you got the ball to wing back. You'd have just needed to put it in the area.
Davy Fitz's the old video with Davy Fitz that he blamed me for at the time. I'm sure. What were the instructions? Get the ball into Joe. It was simplistic enough stuff, like get it into Joe.
Yeah, maybe that's the other thing as well with the Fitzgibbon, because of the time of year, and especially now it's so condensed. Coaches have to keep it simple. They can't, they don't have the hours. They probably don't even have some of the players at their disposal. Yeah. And they have to keep the messages very simple. This is what we're trying to do with puck outs. This is what we're trying to do. From certain things, they can't be bogging players down with detail. It's just it's simple enough game at times.
Exactly.
Yeah. Matt has he left us, or is he still there? I think he's hanging in there. Matt, we're going to flip now towards the.
Matt's thinking of Cork hurlers there.
We're going to flip now towards another competition, which I think you were very fond of, Maurice. The Harty Cup, Matt, Saturday coming. Before we come to the Harty Cup, I must mention that there's two other Limerick schools in finals in the next few days. On Thursday, Gael Collegiate Limni play in the Under-19 E final against Gael Collegiate Kerry. That is in Bantier on Thursday afternoon, 12:30 start for them. Wishing them all the best in their promotion of the game. Obviously, it's a relatively new school. I think opened in 2007 or 6 or 7, I think it was, and I've just moved to a new campus. So I'm sure a welcome addition to the new trophy cabinet, if they have one, would be a bit of silverware there. Matt, just looking up the grades then. Skull Paul Kilfinnan, you mentioned it last week. They're in the Under-19 C final.
Yeah, they're in the Under-19 C final, and they're playing Glanmire Community College in Fethard on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. And it's their second time in 4 years reaching the semi-final. They were beaten by 2 points by Collegiate Trassa Canturk in 2020. It was a Collegiate Trassa team that included Brian O'Sullivan, who is now one of the stars with the UL team. But they have a very, very strong team this year, and they have been very, very impressive. They have reached the final without losing a game. Now, they drew with St. Augustine's from Dungarvan in the final game of the group stages on a day in which they were without a couple of key players, notably Shane Fitzgibbon of Drummond Clacka and Sean O'Dwyer of Blackrock. Due to their commitment to it. It coincided with the county final, the county Premier Intermediate hurling final. So, but they were back. They met St. Augustine's again in the semi-final about 10 days ago, and they had a huge win over them. And they have a very good sprinkling of good players in so far as that Shane Fitzgibbon has played minor with Limerick in 2022. He's now on the Under-20 panel. Christine O'Gorman from Charleville was a Cork minor last year. And you have 3 lads from my own club there, Glenroe. You have the Dennehy brothers and Adam Froon, who are county minors this year. And you have Dan Froon also from our own club here, who is a member of the Under-19 squad. So, like, they have, they have good players basically all over the pitch. Shane Fitzgibbon now, who was quite effective in the county final, you will remember. Now he's the full back, and Christian O'Gorman, the ex-Cork minor, now is full forward. So, but they're up against a very strong a very strong team in Collegiate, in Glanmire Community College. And it's the second Glanmire team that they have played in the competition, because they already knocked out Collegiate Padraig Glanmire. But they're coming up against a very strong team, and they have one particular star player on the Glanmire team, and that's Finn O'Brien from Erin's Own, who was a member of the Cork minor team last year and is a very free scoring forward. So a lot of their chances could hinge on how they deal with him. But overall, they seem to have, Maurice would be very familiar with most of the players, I'd say, in how they deal with him. But overall, they seem to have a very balanced side. And let's hope that they will make up for, the loss of 4 years ago. And two lads from Comogue Rovers who are teaching in Kilfinnan, Anthony Punch and Padder McCarthy, along with Eddie Kiley from Doon, make up their management team. So, I'd just like to wish them the very best of luck on Saturday.
Just, Matt, on that, isn't it brilliant to see Limerick schools, I suppose, competing now, right? And I know personally there's a lot of work gone in Sculpole. They put a lot of investment in getting a gym done and whatnot for players there, and I think it's brilliant to see them competing. There's a good conveyor belt of players coming through in the area, right? So local enough to us, Matt, right? And I know a lot of them quite well, and I can know our own lads in Glenroe there quite well. So I think it's brilliant, and it's great to see them excel, and it's great to see the work going in. I know the County Board are investing, I suppose, time with coaches going in at second level in John the Baptist and whatnot. So I think it's key that we excel at second level throughout, I suppose, from Harty down. And a lot of the sprinkling of that Sculpole team are involved in between minor and Limerick 20s. So it'd be great to see him excel. The lads in Glenroe under 21s this year going, and Darren Frown, after being called into the 20s panel, was absolutely exceptional for us, So I'll be watching with a keen interest on that game for our own lads and the lads locally as well. So, but it's brilliant to see, and a lot of work gone in John the Baptist as well. It was fantastic to see them getting so far in the Harty. It's a pity they had to meet Hard Skull at the stage they did. If they could have went on and met later in the competition, it would have been brilliant. But it's just fantastic, and it would be brilliant to see another couple of Limerick schools. It'd be great to see Doon getting back up to where they were, as well. So I think I saw Doon playing Harty Cup this year. They were lucky not to qualify out of the group, but it's important for all of our schools to be competing, qualifying out of our groups at all those levels. It's brilliant to see them. Sculpole getting there, because I know a lot of work has gone in there, and I suppose Harty final will be interesting as well, guys, won't it?
Yeah, it will. The Harty final is Saturday. Nina, CBS, and Artskull Reach. That is in Cusick Park in Ennis, a 1 p.m. start. I was looking the other day. It's 10 years since Artskull Reach won a final that included a certain Cian Lynch, a certain Mike Casey, and would you believe it, on the bench, and given this was, I think he's leaving third year, a certain hurler of the year now in Aaron Galland. So his rise was not a quick one through the ranks, but nevertheless, he was there on a very strong Artskull Reach team that won a Harty Cup in 2014. So just over 10 years, I think, nearly to the day. They beat, it was Doon, you mentioned there, Clash. What's the name of the school? It's come out of my head here now. The T anyway. No, I have it wrong out of my. I don't want to misstep on it. Matt will correct me, but sorry, they beat Doon in the final. And just looking at the two teams, just so many names we're so used to seeing around the county. And obviously there's some guys from Clare involved with Artskull Reach. But if we can look towards...
just not cutting across you there, Tom, but that was against Charleville CBS in 2011 you're talking about.
No, I'm just saying it was 2014 final I'm talking about here, because
sorry, my apologies.
10 years on, yeah, and I just found it so interesting to see Aaron Galland as a sub, and obviously he wasn't someone who'd made a major impact at minor level. And look, not every player is going to get to represent Limerick, but maybe guys might write their hurling chances off because I was a sub in this or I wasn't, and now look at him, he's the number one hurler in the country. He obviously put in the time after that, and managed to come up. I remember
Tom going to a Fitzgibbon Cup match. I suppose we've been through the Fitzgibbon, but Pat Donnelly and myself went separately, right? And Aaron Glenn had just been cut off the Limerick senior squad. I suppose his first rodeo win there, 2017 maybe.
Yeah.
I think it was 17, yeah. And he got cut earlier in the year. And we went to see Mary I playing Fitzgibbon Cup in Mary I, and I was up on the balcony and Pat was down on the sideline, and Aaron Glenn just hit one of them days where he just caught fire. I think he got 3 goals, 3 something like, and I remember Pat looked up at me and I was down and I said, well, we have our free taker and our key man secured there straight in what was a really good team. I just couldn't get over the performance. I'd seen him playing league earlier in the year for Patricksville against the Han. He was unbelievable, but that was the day I was like, whoa, something special here, and turned out to be. So it just goes to show, and I saw there earlier in the year as well where Hugo Keenan, the rugby player, couldn't make his school's team in I don't know where he is. He
couldn't make a B team or something in school.
Couldn't make a B team, and there he is, one of the best players in the country now as well. So it just goes to show everyone develops at different times.
Definitely, yeah. If we can look to the present day, so Matt, I think this one is going to be a cracking game in Ennis on Saturday. I've just been asked to do a report or two on it this afternoon, so I tell you I'm licking my lips heading out here for this one. It's Artscoil Reach and Nina. What way do you think this one is going to land?
Well, just a few little asides to it. If we're Nina to win it, it'll be the 3rd year in a row that there'll be first-time winners. You had St. Joseph's winning their first in 2022. You had Castle Community College winning it last year. Nina have never won it. They have been beaten in 4 finals. And if there's an omen for Nina, they never won the Dean Ryan Cup until last November, when they won it for the first time. Now, there is a bit of a crossover of players in the Nina side. Now, Donach O'Donnell is the coach. He was with Limerick for a while. And they have a player that's bordering on being on the Tipperary senior panel, Dara McCarthy from Tumivara. And they also have a member of the 2022 Tipperary All-Ireland winning minor team, Kieran Foley from Borrisicane. But it's going to be very interesting. But I've seen Artscoil a couple of times this year, and I have to say I'm hugely impressed with him. And now, Tom, I think you saw him with me both days, did you?
Yeah.
You definitely saw him with me on one occasion. And you'd have to say in the game against Thurles, how they played for the first 10 minutes, at the end of which there were 8 points to no score up. It was just consummate hurling. It was just hurling at its very, very best, and we haven't seen the like of it. But they weren't able to sustain it. Thurles came back, got ahead of them down on the home straight, but they had that guile when it mattered and when their championship was under threat to dig it out in the closing stages. Now, similar somewhat against John the Baptist. They were cruising about 5 points up. John the Baptist got a run on them, reduced the margin to a single point with less than 10 minutes to go. And they had to dig in. So they're sort of battle hardened, but lads, they have a stellar team. Like, they have 7 players that were involved in the Clare All-Ireland winning minor team last year. Like, you look at the Limerick side of it, you have James O'Keefe, you have Sean Morrissey, who was the Limerick minor captain last year. You have you've Shane Scully, who starred with Drummond and Clacka in the county final. Fenton Fitzgerald at centre forward, from Mungret St. Paul's, who was a Limerick minor last year. Fionn O'Brien in goals, son of the great Jim O'Brien of 1973, and the son of John, a former Limerick player as well. He's in goals, and he's a former Limerick minor. So it's a stellar cast, but they've been put to the pin of their collar to get over, first of all, John the Baptist, and then in particular Thurles CBS. And to me, it gave me the sense that they have that resilience, to dig it out when it is necessary. Now, Nina they're going to come with all guns blazing. I haven't seen them now. They played Charleville twice, and they played them in the first round, and they beat them by 4 points. And they played them in the semi-final and they beat them by 4 points. But Charleville were leading by a point going into injury time.
Yeah, in injury
So
time.
they too know how to dig out a game. So, like, I think this is all the ingredients to be a classic Harty final.
Yeah. Maurice, your own memories of Harty, I think we're saying at the start, you won it twice. Fond memories.
Yeah, Jesus, many moons ago. So I can't do much complaining about Clare fellas now playing on a Limerick team. I was playing on a Cork team, so I'll park that one. But what I will say about it is it's brilliant. Right, you'll say there's a couple of Clare playing on it. It's brilliant for the exposure that we have. Yeah, is there 7 Limerick starters? Is there 8, Matt?
Yeah, it's probably 8-7 in Clare's favour, but it's
but like the exposure, right? You take those Clare lads out of Ardscoil probably aren't in a Harty Cup final, so the exposure to that level of hurling for the 7 and plus what comes on is brilliant, and it's brilliant for the county as a whole to be same as the third college to be involved with this level, to have a team in the final, and a really good opportunity from what I'm hearing and seeing in it. I just saw a hospital game against John the Baptist. They're a big, strong, physical team which counts for a lot in Harty Cup hurling in these conditions. So yeah, no, I look, I haven't seen Cashel, or Nina, but I would imagine they'd have I'd look to be the team to beat in it. Ardscoil, all right.
Yeah, Matt, anything more to add in it? Obviously, the history, I think, and alluded to last week.
I got the semi-finals right when you asked me the question, and I'm going for Ardscoil to win it. But I think it'll be very, very tight. But in a tight situation, I would back Ardscoil all day from what I've seen in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, definitely. They had the answers when the questions were coming thick and fast in those 2 rounds, in fairness. Yeah. And they came up with the answers. So that's Saturday, 1 p.m. in Cusack Park in Ennis. So if you're at nothing else, I can tell you that will be a cracking game of hurling to go and witness. Matt, the only other hurling item I have certainly here is the Junior B game last weekend, deferred by a week for Monaleen, and a low-scoring game by modern standards, but mattered a jot for Monaleen that got extra time to get the better of Wolf Tones and a Munster Junior B final awaits.
Yeah, Munster Junior B final awaits on Saturday the 11th in Rahena against Drummond from Tipperary. And, there's an old cliche going around that semi-finals are all about getting through, and certainly if you look at the respective semi-finals, Drummond have been the far more impressive in that they had a huge win over the Cork champions, who previously had a win in the quarter-final over De La Salle from Waterford. So the Cork champions were Oliver Plunkett's, who completed a Junior B double in Cork last year, and they're from a place called Oil, deep down in West Cork. And they're actually coming up next Sunday in the football to play zone from Waterford in Paddy Carroll Park in the Junior B football, which unfortunately Ballylanders lost last week. But Drummond appeared to be firm favourites for it. But I recall last year, as I said to you off air, Turles Sarsfield were practically unbeatable going into the final last year, and Bruff, nobody told Bruff, and Bruff beat him. So, I'd be quite hopeful that Monaleen are in with a real good chance of bringing it to Limerick. Now, we've won the Munster Championship on a number of occasions, but the All-Ireland series seems to have eluded us. We had only won once, and I think it was in 2015 when Doon won it, after being beaten in the Munster final by Killinall. They came back. The system for Collegiate is that you have the Leinster final, which this year is between Ballinasloe and Bor, and you have the Munster final, which is between Drummond and Monaleen. Is that they're crossed in the All-Ireland semi-final. The winner of Leinster plays the runner-up of Munster and vice versa. That's how Doon got back into it and won the All-Ireland that year. But Limerick teams have have a pretty good record in winning the Munster Championship, like Temple, Danton, Rathkeil, Brewery, Bruff. They've all won it at different stages. Cappamore were beaten in the All-Ireland final a couple of years ago by Aldgate and Brian from Wexford. But I'd be pretty hopeful. But we'll be talking about it in greater depth, I presume, next week, Tom, immediately on the lead up to the game.
Yeah, I think they'll be delighted to get 2 more days out from us. I think that brings us near the end of the hurling chat. But Maurice, I'll put you on the spot here now. What are we now? We're the very last day of or last few days of January. Will Limerick win the 5 in a row?
Oh well, that's a grand question, Tom. I'm going to say yes. There's no other answer. There's no other answer I can give you.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be allowed back on if you said anything else. But tell me this: if you were to pick hurler of the year, or maybe a player that you think could have a huge year, and I know it's probably changed every year, so it's predictions on this are quite folly, but maybe one that you might see being a real fore for Limerick in 2024.
I seems we've Patrick Swell 3 in a row, right? We'll skip the Patrick Swell contingent, which is hard to look past. Give them a break. I think they're having a celebration night for their 3 in a row hurlers there shortly as well. Hurler of the year. Sure, Amanda's in the conversation every year, right? Kyle Hayes, hurler of the year.
Well, there's a statement now. Yeah. We're good to see someone from the back line as well. It's nearly always forwards, but someone that had obviously worn the lower numbers. Interesting to see how that one plays out at the year end. Maurice, we must thank you for your joining us here on this episode of Treaty Talk. I'm sure we'll be checking in with you during the year, and hopefully, as you say, there'll be no doubt about the 5 in a row, and we'll have some history in 2024. But I'm sure if we don't, we'll be along for every step of the ride anyway.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks a million, Maurice. Thank you.
Now we must thank Maurice for his contribution on the hurling front. We're now switching codes here on Treaty Talk to the football side of things around Limerick. And Sunday afternoon last saw the Limerick football team returned to the Alliance Football League Division 3, and unfortunately for Jimmy Lee on his first outing in the competition as Bonistore, Limerick were defeated at home 2-7 to 2-14 by Antrim. Matt, I was at the game. I know you were otherwise engaged at a club game, but disappointing afternoon. Never nice to be losing the first day out, never nice to be losing at home. This Limerick team is most definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, just before I take your question there, Tom, I would just like to express our thanks to Maurice O'Brien, because there are few people I know that are as passionate and as well informed about hurling as Maurice. It's always great to have a conversation with him, as you could see there now, because across the whole spectrum of hurling, he really, really is into it. And of course, he was involved with the All-Ireland winning Limerick team of 2017 as a member of Pat Donnelly's backroom team. I think he referenced it there at one stage. But to answer your question, it's very, very disappointing, Tom, to lose. But look, this is going to be a difficult year for Limerick. Make no bones about that. If you inherit a squad like Jimmy Lee has inherited, that are down 17 players. Now, and we've said this a number of times, but the reality is beginning to dawn now, that it is, and as you said, it's a work in progress. And what it needs, Tom, is patience. This is not going to happen overnight. Now, as we saw the McGrath Cup, the Kerry game was no barometer whatsoever, because you had a Division 3 team against the All-Ireland runners-up. Tipperary game, maybe more so of a barometer. But the real business started here with Antrim. And after a poor first half, Limerick regrouped and brought the lead down to a point. And I suppose there was a black card in and everything involved, and Limerick were eventually beaten by 7 points. It was not the start that they would have hope for, because when you're starting out, as Jimmy Lee is starting out as manager, he's not just only starting out as manager, but he's starting out in having to rebuild the team. If he inherited a squad, totally different scenario. But he's got to build a squad. And Tom, let's face it, it's going to take time. But having said that, I suppose, you know, the first thing you would have to do would be target your home games and try and make them count. And I suppose Antrim would be one of those. Now, I would liken Jimmy Lee's situation a lot to that of Alan McEntee, the Antrim manager.
Yeah, just
he went in last year in Division 3, barely survived, had poor Ulster Championship, but really had his mark put on the team and on the squad when it came to the Tailteann Cup.
Yeah.
And they forced me to depend on their collar.
In the semi-final of it. Yeah.
In the semi-final. So it was just a question of picking it up. But it took him all that time, having gone in there. You know, and Jimmy Lee needs time. But unfortunately, like, Division 3 can be a very forbidding place, Tom. As we've known in the past. And it's going to be difficult, and points are going to be at a premium. Like next Saturday night now, Limerick go to Down. It's the first of 3 very tricky away games that Limerick have, because their next away game is away to Westmeath, which will be coming after a home game with Sligo, and they also have a trip to Offaly. So like and a trip to Wicklow.
Yeah.
So it's not very easy, and they're going facing a Down team that are on a high after a win in the opening round. Now, they didn't root up any threes in the Dr. McKenna Cup. Well, they got beaten narrowly by the eventual champions Derry, and they beat Cavan, but it wasn't enough to get to the semi-final. But they had a good win in Wicklow. Now, Wicklow and particularly Ockram has been the graveyard of so many teams' hopes in the past, even though Limerick have picked up a couple of wins there in recent years. But it's the first of 4 games. Like Limerick are down now to just 2 games left at home.
That's the worry.
So that will give you a sense of the challenge. Those home games are against Sligo and against Clare. And like those 2 teams met last week, and Clare won by a point. So what it needs is patience, and a number of people that were there told me that they saw the green shoots of maybe a team coming together.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's going to take time, and you know, I know in sport among supporters, patience is a thing that's in very short supply.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
But I would plead for patience in this case, because like, you're building practically from a blank canvas. So just let's hope that the performance in Down will augur well for when Sligo visit McNeville Park in the 3rd round.
Yeah, certainly. And I was at the game myself, Matt, and just to mention the green shoots, Carl Downs being back, you know, he was introduced as a sub. That there's one. I think the way Limerick came out in the 3rd quarter was definitely admirable, and I know they were up against 14 men for 10 minutes of that, but the way they went after Antrim was certainly to be liked. They definitely had more openings than Antrim. Now, you can spin that as a positive or a negative depending on how you look at it, but they had created more opportunities. Just unfortunately, the radar was slightly askew, and on a different day they might have went a point or 2 ahead. And as you know, Matt, in football, you know, getting into the lead can sometimes be very, very valuable heading down the straight, and Limerick were kind of chasing it the whole way through, you know. And the problem was they gave away 2 goals. You know, there was a mistake for the penalty by the goalkeeper, Aaron O'Sullivan. He made a mistake and conceded the penalty. And then the second goal, immediately after Limerick got it back to a point for the second time, they cut the gap back to a point with Tommy Childs' great finish for the goal, back to a point, and Limerick conceded from the very next play. So hopefully these, you know, mistakes won't be replicated in future rounds, and they could sharpen up on the accuracy of the shooting and the passing, and that that might lend itself to being a lot closer on the scoreboard and invariably picking up some points, Maybe I'm simplifying it, but I wouldn't be too downtrodden on things. It's disappointing to lose at home by 7 points, but there was some things certainly to be positive about.
Yeah, now Down, of course, were runners up in the Talton Cup.
Yeah.
So, and they just missed promotion last year on scoring difference with Cavan.
Yeah.
So, they're going to be a formidable outfit, and it's unfortunate that Limerick have to travel to Park Esler, but that's the randomness of the draw, or whatever way it is decided. But look, we'd be hoping for a good performance against Down, and just hope if Limerick bring, the best they can to Newry, that they might pick up something out of it. You mentioned there about the return of Cathal Downs. There's the imminent return as well in the next couple of weeks of Danny Neville.
Yeah, and they need a forward of his caliber, I think.
Yeah, which would be a major asset.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully some of the other injuries will clear up. But I think on another day Limerick might have forged ahead, as I say, and who knows what would happen then in the last quarter of an hour or so. Matt, you were, as I said at the start, you were otherwise engaged. You were at the Munster Junior B Club Championship. Your own Ballylanders, unfortunately, were defeated by Shannon Gales. What way did this one go? Were they second best for most of it, or did the Tipperary men deserve it? What way did you land on it?
Yes and no. Shannon Rovers deserve to win. I mean, I'm not disputing that, but for the first 25 minutes, Tom, it was a no-show by Ballylanders. They were playing with the wind, and I think they were 7 or 8 points to 2 down.
Right.
Coming up to half-time, or 7 points anyway, I think. But on the lead up to half-time, they seemed to find a bit of rhythm, put the pressure on Shannon. It was actually 6 points to 2. On Shannon Rovers, and got 2 goals before half-time. One of them was a well-worked goal in from the right, finished by Phil O'Sullivan, and the other one was a Kieran O'Callaghan free that dropped right in and was sort of dropping in under the bar, and there was a goal Mount Malee, and Eamon O'Mahony was the man that got it and steered it into the net. And Killian Lane, who departed for Australia a couple of hours later, going out there, he kicked a magnificent point before halftime, and as a result, Bally led at halftime by 2-4 to 6 points. 2-4 to 8 points. They were 2 points up. George Hannigan kicked the last kick of the first half. He kicked the point. Now, George Hannigan was outstanding. George Hannigan played for Tipperary Seniors for 10 years before, and played in the All-Ireland semi-final against Mayo in 2015, and retired from inter-county football in 2016. But he, as a finisher, he was really, really class at centre forward. But with the elements, Ballylanders failed to a certain degree to make the, they found it difficult playing into the elements. They took the game to Shannon Rovers, but too often, delivered that extra pass and got turned over. And passing on a day in which there's kind of a swirling breeze, and it is for the most part against you, it's not very wise, especially anything more than 4 or 5 yards. And they got turned over when they were in the final third on a number of occasions. And as a result, they only got 2 points in the second half. And Shannon Rovers eventually won by 4. Decent game of football for January, Tom. Now, Ballylanders were down 3 key players from the county final. And that certainly didn't help their cause. Now, Dylan Noonan, who was man of the match in the county final, was one of them. He came on about 5 or 6 minutes into the second half. But Pa Fox, who was abroad, and the team captain, and Tom McDonald played no part in the game. But Ballylanders will be disappointed. But it was the first 25 minutes when they had the breeze. It was no show.
Yeah, they were always under the cash then, even though they had forged ahead, but couldn't do enough there. So disappointment for Ballylanders. There was not too far away from you there at I think the same time. The ladies footballers, Matt, got their second win of the campaign, moving them on to 2 wins and a draw now ahead of a bit of a break. They've defeated Kilkenny. I think we said last week there was no doubt whatsoever that they would win this game. I think it was 1-9 to a point was the final score. Limerick used a lot of new faces. They brought back some of the familiar names from the bench as well. So probably a worthwhile exercise, but I suppose there wasn't an awful lot to gain out of this game. Really, it was just to tick the box of winning it, really.
Yeah, well, I think we flagged it last week that, it was an ideal situation. Tease the like of Roisin Ambrose, Yvonne Lee, Catty Mee and Alva Quaid back into the team. But it's great to be 7 points and be second in the table, only behind Leitrim after the first tranche of games. But you must remember that we have played 2 of the weakest teams in it, i.e. Derry and in Kilkenny. And yeah. Tom, I would be slightly worried. There are 8 teams in the group. 4 are going through to the semi-finals, and you're going to have a tight situation as the league progresses. And I'd be slightly worried. And you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't, type of thing. It was all very well, and it was an ideal scenario to try fringe players and try new players against Kilkenny. But I just fear. I got that morbid fear about it today when I was looking at it and doing a piece for the paper on it. And I said, this could come back to haunt us. The fact that we didn't put up a big score, if it comes down to scoring difference.
Yeah, if it came down against Wicklow, for
example. We scored 1-9 also against Derry. Leitrim got 9 goals against them.
Yeah.
So I'd be extremely worried if it came down to scoring difference that this particular game could compromise our chances. I hope not. I hope that we will have enough points to be in the top 4, and the way we're going, we're looking that way. But you never know. There's a lot of football to be played yet. There are 4 rounds to go.
Yeah.
And we have games against Longford coming up, who were relegated last year and who play at intermediate level in the football championship. Then we have Leitrim away, and then we have home games with Carlow and Fermanagh. Fermanagh are one of the top teams in it as well. So, I still think we'll make the top 4, but, the drop of the couple of points against Wicklow, maybe the fact that we didn't go for the juggler against Kilkenny, might just come back to haunt us. I hope not.
Yeah, but I suppose that the win was just there to be had, and that's all they were.
Well, it was paramount that you picked up the 3 points, Tom. But that there are side issues to it.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I think that about covers us. Obviously, a bumper hurling edition this week with the return of the National League, and looking ahead to the year that may be for Limerick hurlers. Matt, I think we've it all covered. We've no controversy this week. That's 2 weeks in a row now, I think, is it?
Well, no controversy.
No controversy for us off the field to discuss maybe this week, but
not since Super Value Park Keefe we've had no.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, but we could have had controversy because there was a whisper going around for part of the week that the GA was about to introduce at least the first cousin of VAR.
Oh well, I tell you, we'll kick that one to touch. There'll be no VAR. I think they're probably just better off investing in the referees that they have. Maybe that might be more down their alley.
We will kick it to touch now, Tom. But if there's a possibility of it being introduced, we'll meet it head on.
Certainly, yeah. Well, we'll watch the space, as they say. Thanks very much, Matt, for your contributions this week. And again, thanks to Maurice earlier in the show. And thanks to you at home for watching. Don't forget to share this with your family and friends, especially those who are interested in hurling. Plenty that Maurice gave us an insight into there earlier in the show. We'll talk to you again very soon.